It's the CorradoLark, 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 Knitcast podcast channel. Yeah. Oh, snap, we're back. Hi, y'all, and welcome back to the CorradoLark Knitcast podcast. I didn't breathe for that one. It's me, CorradoLark, the host of the CorradoLark Knitcast podcast channel. You can find me as CorradoLark on Instagram, and CorradoLark on Ravelry, and CorradoLark@gmail.com if you want to email me. And you can subscribe or like this video if you so choose. That would be so great, wouldn't it? Sorry for the delay, y'all. It's been a bit. I think it's been 3 or 4 weeks now since I've last done this whole podcast thing. Life's been busy. Life's been difficult. I'm getting through. I've been knitting a whole ton, and this episode is going to be chock full of all sorts of new things for you, including this new angle. What do you think? It's the corner of my living room. I think that works, right? I mean, now I don't have to like zoom in unless I want to, which, you know, I like to do on occasion. Now I don't have to zoom in to begin with when I start the video. I can just leave it big screen like this. So now I can like put the yarn here, and I can like still see it in editing. That didn't make any sense. You're welcome. Welcome back. I did take some notes, so I'm gonna go through what they are. This episode is called The New Design Parade. Yeah, like there should be like colors and things for that. It should be really, really exciting. It is going to be really exciting because I have a lot of new designs. I just finished, I just cast off 2, and I have a new one releasing in a couple of weeks here towards the end of July, which I will show you in this here episode. You may have seen it, I think, on the channel once or twice before, but now it is complete and ready, and the pattern has been tested, and I'm working on the tech editing aspects of it. And it's the 4th of July, and it's sweltering in here, and I can't ignore that any further. It's really hot, and that's one of the reasons. One, my hand's really yellow in this light. One of the reasons that I haven't podcasted in a while. I just don't handle the heat well. I'm Italian, I sweat, I have hair. It is not a good mix. When you're Italian, you sweat, and you have hair. Especially when you want to knit all the time. I will say maybe, it was like a week or so ago, I did brave the heat, and I went to go knit in the park, Astoria Park, which is very beautiful by me. I live in Astoria, New York, if you aren't aware and you need to know. I went and I knit in the park the other day in the shade under there's like a big bridge for a train, and I sat like under the train bridge. Which is very windy, so it worked out really great. And I was even knitting with mohair, and it was technically, I think, 93 degrees out. That ain't me every day. Most days I sit directly next to my AC and knit up a storm. So, without further ado, let's chat the knitting, and let's start the parade. Why don't we? Sometimes I just like to talk on the side of my mouth. I don't really know what that's about. Maybe I think in my head I'm Drew Barrymore, but I don't know. I don't really think so. First up is the shawl design. Well, it's my first shawl design that I'll be releasing the pattern for, and it will be released towards the end of the month. I'm working on getting it photographed. I want this one done photographed professionally, or at least on a semi-professional level. You know, my friend who's done all of my photography thus far is just like a friend of mine, and we use his phone, and I've been really happy with what the outcome has been. But you know, you can tell when someone has like a real nice camera and they really know what they're doing, and they take a nice picture of you, and you're like, wow, I look great, wow, that knitting looks great, let's sell patterns, you know. Oh, before I get there, I guess I'm going to show off the, I don't know if I showed this off in the episode where I talked about the Brooklyn General 17th anniversary party. I think it was 17, 16 or 17. 16. says it right on the back of the mug. Thank you. Anyway, this is the mug that I got. It says Brooklyn General and celebrating 16 years. Clearly, I knew all about that. It's a very wonderful store. I've been trying to get back there. Water first, knitting second. It's the only time I'm ever going to say that. Let's get that out of frame there, why don't we? Okay. Here we are. So this is Volcano. I knit this with La Bien-Amie and Yushitita. La Bien-Amie is the charcoal. It was the understory colorway, and the red is Cosmopolitan Yushitita. Both single plies, and it's, you know, it's a smaller shawl. It wears kind of like a scarf because it's not super deep, and that was my intent. I wanted something that was more easily worn by a man on the go, per se. It's also actually a pretty great summer knit. I've had, you know, my testers have been happy knitting it because it's, you know, it's a fingering or a light fingering weight, and it actually moves really quick because you increase by a lot very quickly. So I'm gonna show you some close-ups. I actually, I am showing you the wrong side. I've been posting a lot about the wrong or the right side of fabrics that we're making, just because I think it's like an odd terminology when neither side is right or wrong. And I know other people have acknowledged that, you know, neither, you know, it's not right or wrong, it's not really what we're saying, but like, then why are we using that terminology? I don't know. Anyway, I often like the wrong sides of shawls more than I like the right sides of shawls, so I'm going to first show you just the wrong side because I think it's the cooler part. Anyway, so there's the beginning, you know, it's some color work, and the feature of this shawl is out on the wings. That is the freeform lace that I have created. I think in the end I'm going to end up calling it structured freeform lace, because it's not completely freeform. Like, I'm giving you rules and guidelines to follow, but what you'll end up creating will be an original section within your knitting. So, you know, no matter if you're knitting it, it's going to be yours or whoever you're giving it to, and it's going to be unique just because you knit it, and you knit it with your color choices and your yarn. But what I'm giving you in the pattern is something like extra customizable, I guess, because you end up creating whatever size holes you like, and it creates this like really cool webbing effect. You almost feel like a spider when you knit it, and it's really fun because it's kind of like a who was it? Todd Michael Thomas said, I sent a picture of it, he's like, I love it, it reminds me of like Batgirl. Yeah, it is a little like, little like Batman-y, Batgirly like. So so I'll show you the right side. It's not much different, you know, there's only really a few sections that it's very clearly different. And the color, the red does pop a little more on this side, but I love how it fades and blends into here. It's very easy to wear. We're done. That easy. Just throw it on, wrap it around like a scarf, you know, play with it like that. I mean, you can obviously wear it, you know, around your shoulders, you could pin it even, tie a little knot. Wow. It's like I got a shawl wings. A shawl wings is what I said. Yeah. So, I can't wait for this fall to wear this all the time. This is clearly, it's already something that, like, any chance I'm getting, I bring with me, I have with me, I throw on if it's too cold, like some AC or something. Really versatile shawl. I did a really great job. I will say it was interesting designing my first shawl. Just getting the sequence of things correct and knowing exactly how to write my repeats, and especially with this pattern, I've done it with some others now. The stranded color work that I'm using, the technique that I use, is kind of hard to write concisely, even though it's like a super easy technique. So I've been having a lot of fun editing the pattern, editing some of my future patterns, and I've been working with some different, you know, people giving me some more input tech editor-wise. So we'll see how it comes out in the end, but so far I think there are 2 or 3 complete shawls, and I think there's one more on the way, and then the world can complete them. So it's really hot in this room. Let's put on a shawl. Why not? That sounds like a great idea. Oh, did you hear my neck crack with that? Oh, that wasn't good. That was not good. I mean, kind of good. But now I feel like we're not going there. So, still smells really great. It was really beautiful yarn. I picked them both up at Vogue this year. From my first day at Vogue, I picked them up to make a shawl with it. And I am just so pleased with the outcome. And yeah, this is one for the books. One for the books. I've been posting on Instagram this week, just out of whim. I just decided, let's just do this. Different pictures of projects that I've done in the past, like whether I took the picture then or now, you know, it depends. But just like some of my favorite projects that I've worked on. And this is definitely, I mean, I want to say it's my top favorite project I've ever done. Just because of, I mean, this part was so fun. So, I won't be posting a picture of this week. I tend to do that with my design work. Sorry, I'm sweating, I'm gonna wipe it. I tend to do that with my design work. I'm usually like a good couple months ahead working on things at this point. And I don't really share much about it on Instagram until like, say, the week that I release the pattern. What that does for me is it gives me like this ability to be flexible with when I release the pattern, give me the time to really make sure that the product is right, and that, you know, when people download it or people buy the pattern and they can, you know, they can actually knit it without too much assistance. Of course, I am there to assist anyone through working with my patterns, and I really like to help people figure them out, because I know some of the techniques that I'm using are maybe newer to people that I've knit for a long time, or, you know, honestly, I mean, this one I've still yet to run across someone who's seen this done in a pattern yet. If you have, let me know. But, you know, so that was kind of difficult to explain, especially when I write out. But I'm here for you. You can always reach out. There are many ways to contact me. And yeah. Woo! Okay, cool. Enough about Volcano. Really fun. The next thing is my next cowl design that I am, you know, I'm just editing the pattern now before I send it out to test knitting. And it was designed for Sherry, who is like my mom's best friend, who's kind of been like my second mom. I talk about her a lot on the channel. She bought the speckled yarn that I used for this at Vogue as well. And then when I was at Stitches East, or Stitches United, I always do that. Stitches United, the Midwest, I don't know, okay? Stitches United. At Stitches United, I picked up the yarn that I wanted to pair it with, and I designed this cowl, which I am now affectionately calling the Sherry and Lace Cowl. I've gone back and forth with a lot of names for this one, so here it is completed. It is syncopated brioche and lace. The top is another form of the structured freeform lace. In Volcano it's done a certain way, and in this one it's done a certain way. You have a slightly different pattern that you are following, which gives you a different look. And I mean, you're working in the round, so it's just naturally going to be different. This, I guess you would technically call this the right side, if that's what we're doing. This is the side when you're knitting it, this is the one that you see. And then I will show it to you inside out, which I think I prefer. It's a reversible cowl, but you know, it's, you do see the difference. The lace, inside out, these bottom 2 layers, I'm not using my words correctly today. These 2 sections of lace are the same thing, just inverted, so that when this is the side that when you're facing it this way out, this is the one that's the right side of the lace, and when it's in this way, this is the right side of I'm not explaining that well, but it's fine. It's still a very pretty cowl, I think. So this is the Sherry and Lace. I want to talk about this though. I met with Greg, who's my, he's been helping me tech edit my patterns, and he kind of gives me some input. You know, he's been around for a while in this business. You're real old, Greg. No, you're not old. You're not old. And he's been saying how for his cowls he likes to have a stretchier bind off, or cast on and bind off than what I do. I like having it slightly tighter, because what that does is it kind of hides the inside. It makes the cowl curl in on itself for me, and so it'll sit, for me, I feel like it sits better. For the On the 7 cowl, which I released this past month, thank you all for if you downloaded it or all the kind words about that one. I used I-cord cast on and bind offs, which are much stretchier. It is not like I don't like it. I do. I actually do prefer a tighter bind off, or cast on and bind off. I will say I'm probably in the pattern going to give you the option and explain the difference between the two. I think that's how I'm going to approach it. But it is very fun and droopy and pretty when you throw it on for a lady. I don't think I'm going to photograph myself in this one. I think I may take like a ridiculous picture or something, you know, like a, or like a, yeah, I designed it, that was that face. But I think Tori, who I work with, I think I'm going to have her model it for me. She actually modeled the On the 7, my sample of the On the 7 cowl, and she did a really great job, even though we had like 2 minutes to take the pictures. She did awesome. So this you can expect towards the end of the summer. You know, I am ahead on these patterns, and they are completed. You know, editing takes me a bit to edit from my notes that I take, which I take on my notepad on my phone, so I always have it with me. It takes me a bit. Again, you know, I like giving my testers a good amount of time to figure it out, just because I'm newer to designing, I'm newer to knitting, yet I'm knitting up things that look like this, and designing things that look like this. So you know, I wanna make sure that people have enough time to really do it justice and be happy with the product in the end, and not just do it just because I need a tester, you know. So I will be looking for testers probably next week or so. If you're interested and you're watching this, message me. I will gladly have you as a tester. It's 2 skeins. I used Art Fill and Undercover Otter. I don't have the colorways on me, actually. I have to look that up. I will, I'll let you know. I'm not big on like notes for these podcasts, or like, you know, I link my Ravelry page usually, and that's the extent of it. I barely even edit them anymore. I've gotten some comments back when I was editing all the time that people were like, you can stop. And so I did, and now I've gone the whole like, I'm a human, let me just talk about my life route, and I hope you enjoy that. So yeah, Artfill, Undercover Otter, the speckle is just stunning. Artfill's really, it's a beautiful like blue teal as well, that really picked up some, you know, was really picked up by the speckle. So really fun project. Not that long a knit. If you haven't done syncopated brioche, it's pretty, it's straight, you know, straightforward 2-color syncopated brioche for most of it. So there's that. Let's delicately put those somewhere. I usually am like all about throwing the knits, just throwing the knits on the ground during these podcasts, but not today. It must be delicately handled. You're welcome. Sweating bullets in here. Sweating pills. What if like that's how humans sweat? They sweat in pills like wool, and you have to like take a comb and like. Just a thought. Okay, so I guess I could talk a little bit about this now. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Chelsea Yarns, or not this, it wasn't this past weekend, the weekend before, for the Asylum Fibers trunk show that she had. And there were so many people there. It was a really great event. I had a blast. You know, all the New York ladies and gentlemen were there that you want to see at a big knitting party, and it was too much fun. So I got to see my yarn wife, Ms. Gemma Darlings, Danielle, Christy was there. I'm not gonna go through the list of who was there, but they were there. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, the point of the story is, it was what, a week? I've had this complete now for a couple of days. Yeah, it's been about a week and a half since I went there, and when right before I left, I was talking to Mike, who winds all the big kahunas, and it is Christina, who owns the store's husband. And we were talking about, oh, I'm a new designer, yeah, I'd love to work with you guys, great. And just like went over to the Chelsea Lux and just put these two yarns together, and I was like, Christina, and she was like, yeah, let's do that. So we did. So she gave me the 2 skeins of yarn, which was super kind of her. I think I have the remnants here. This is, let me see. Oh, good, because that's the one I needed. So this is her colorway Favorite Leather Boots, which she said is a really popular colorway, and for good reason. I don't want it to blow out. I like a lot of bright light on my podcast. Brighten it up. Hide the wrinkles. 29, hopefully I don't have too many. Is this gonna work? What if I do this? Boom. You got that color? Yeah. You also got my bitten nails? Yeah. So it's a really fun tonal of that like 70s yellow, like brown type thing. She has little speckles of red that you get in there, and darker brown, which was really cool. I love when just like the tiniest bit of speckle happens in a yarn. And then, so that's a DK superwash, 100% superwash DK. And then this is the Kid Silk Mohair. Kid Mohair Silk. So 72% Kid Mohair, 28% silk. 459 yards. Chelsea Lux Mohair. Here's her tag. There you go. Yeah. And this is the mohair that I picked up to match with it. When it was in the skein, there was a very clear section of that same Favorite Leather Boots color. And when you wind it up, you got a lot of blue and green, and then there's pink in there, and in lavender, and there are the amount of colors you got in this. It's called Unicorn Palace, so for obvious reasons, it's a little like a unicorn. I'm just gonna let that sit. Just let that non-joke sit. So, this is my first time using mohair, silk mohair, and it was an interesting learning experience. I actually really enjoyed the product. I really love knitting with it. I love double stranding things. I've done that a lot. I really enjoy doing that. You get a whole different, you get all these different tones from doing that. And especially with something like silk mohair, whereas like the silk, makes it strong. Like it's that thread that you basically get is the silk. And then you get this like fluff coming out from the mohair. And even that is like toned, dyed different colors. So, so I just, she gave me the yarn. She said, she has an event in September that she was like, wanted me to design this for. And I was like, yeah, I have all the time. I just ended up casting it right on and getting to work on it right away. And it's interesting, designing with mohair is not the easiest, because especially how I design, which is a lot of experiment as I'm creating the product. I'm not huge on swatching. I do swatch for certain things, but a lot of times for me, the product comes from the experimentation. So it's very hard for me to swatch for something that I don't know what is going to come out. That said, at some points I will stop a project and then go swatch for a second just to make sure that what I want is what I want to happen is going to happen. But I say that because, especially with hats, I like to rip back a lot. Because I'm not going to swatch for a hat. Just generally not going to happen. Sorry about it. Maybe someday. But when I was ripping back, I learned how mohair likes to latch onto itself, and it made for a very interesting experience when you ripped back. I had heard a tip that if you froze your item, like the mohair, it will rip back easier. No, not true. Doesn't rip back easier. Don't worry, don't bother. Best thing I could say is just tink back carefully, one stitch by one stitch. So that's what I did, and I've ended up with a design that, for the first time in my designing, I don't really have a name that I'm sold on. I'm thinking my favorite unicorn hat, because it's using unicorn palace and favorite leather boots, or like unicorn boot hat. Favorite palace. No, I don't know. The unicorn. No, I don't know what the name's gonna be. Something with Chelsea loves, Chelsea yarns, maybe Christina, maybe Mike. But anyway, I knit a slouchy hat and I designed it, and here it is. So I'll show you it here. So it's this 5x2, this ribbing that I've created, and then I'm actually using stranded color work here with the silk mohair, and you know, depending on where it is in the fabric, the mohair is either held double with the DK, or the DK is just held by itself, or I am stranding the mohair. What I found, and there's certain parts of this that it is done, when I held the mohair for every row, all of a sudden I was getting a very, it was like craziness, like so much mohair, and you can kind of see it when I turn it inside out, some of the parts where it's like that. It may actually be hard to see on camera. But anyway, so this is what the ribbing looks like inside out, which I thought was really great. The hat is a big slouchy hat, which you know I love if you follow me, which I'm not saying you have to, but like you could. And I'm not saying that you should, because you probably shouldn't. But I designed this hat for me to have a brim that I can fold. I'm gonna give the option that you don't, you know, if you don't want a folded brim, you will do something slightly different. You know, the brim will be slightly different. But here we are when we put it on. I mean, how big? Let me do this because I want to see. How big a slouchy hat is that? I mean, when you talk slouchy, I think I'm giving it to you here, right? And then, for the folding of the brim, it is so hot, and this is mohair. What am I doing? Life choices, right? So this is what it looks like when it's folded. I think it's gonna be my favorite hat this winter. It is super, super soft because of the mohair and DK superwash. I mean, you're starting off from such a like luxurious place that when you put them together, it is the softest. It is super warm. The little detail that you get from the stranding is, I mean, really cool. So look out for the pattern. If you think of a name for this, let me know. If you think of a name for this hat, I don't know what the name's gonna be. Maybe something like stained glass, because the mohair, when you strand it, you do get little bits of holes that are filled then with mohair. So so it almost looks iridescent, especially in person, or like when it's far away, it kind of looks like what is going on? Are there holes there? No, it's not. It's not full on lace, which, you know, that's what I mean by holes. Is it lace? No, it's not lace. It's color work. The more you know. Anyway, I am thinking about making a pom-pom or getting a pom-pom for this. Maybe, I've never made a pom-pom with mohair. It kind of sounds like a good idea, and it sounds like a horrible idea at the same time, because the mohair could get everywhere. I'm still gonna try it because I have plenty of mohair, and you might as well, right? So here we are. So, new design parade. There we go. Those are the 3 new designs that I have, and I'm working on some more that I'm going to show you as well. But before I go into the next segment, I am going to talk about the other thing that I've been making, from the last episode, if you know, I've learned to braid recently, and so I have been braiding up a storm for a lot of people at work, actually, because they're all into that kind of like bracelets and stuff. And if you noticed, I've been wearing one right now. Well, first off, this is my Christy Glass little bracelet that she gave out. I think I got that at Knit at Night. But here, this is my latest braided creation. It is very, very thin. I've actually, you can see, it's actually 2 thin braids and then 1 thick braid. It is braided together, so I'm braiding the two thin ones separately, and then I combine them and braid them all together. But the product that I've been using to do this with, I've been eyeing for a long time now. And I was grateful enough for working, because of my work with Yarnimentary, Lion Brand gifted all of the teachers a gift card to Lion Brand Studio. So I got to go, was it last week I went? I met up with my new friend Vincent, the Knit Owl, and I met up with Juan Knits, and who's been one of my knitting friends for a long time, Juan. And we went to Lion Brand Studio, and I didn't think that they would actually have this yarn in their store, just because I had seen a YouTube video of it, and I was like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So without further ado, I used the wool stainless steel LB collection. It's 75% wool and 25% stainless steel. A lace weight, 273 yards, about 14 grams. Let's see if I can, yeah, there's that. I think it was about $10 for a comb. I have a gray as well, I just don't know where it is at the moment. But here they are. So this is, it's wool, but stainless steel. Meaning that it's like super strong, not super strong. It's super, that was pathetic. It's just like, it's very sturdy. And even when you're braiding with it, it all like curls at the end. If you look at videos of this online, or the video that Lion Brand has put out, you can see really cool crochet jewelry with this. Really, really a fun product. I'm excited to work with it, to knit with it a little bit too, or even crochet maybe. Maybe I'll pick some of that up. But for braiding and for braiding bracelets, I mean, this kind of looks pretty professional. You know, I was really happy. I haven't taken it off since I made it, which is a feat for me because I'm not big on wearing the same thing every day. Same colors maybe. You may notice that I wear a lot of black, and maroon, and purple, and navy. Where is this? Didn't I bring this over? Huh? Where? Just like looking around the camera. Where is it? I can't find it. I thought it was right over here. Anyway, I'm looking for, oh, here it is. I randomly stopped in like this fabric store near me, and picked up this jewelry and bead glue for my braiding, because I've had one of my braided items totally unravel on someone that I gave it to, and so now I'm gonna actually braid him one with this stuff, and then I'll use this, and I used this on this one, and it has stayed perfectly. Just a tiny bit of this. It came with little nozzles. It was like $5. E6000 is what it's called. So E6000, it does work. Anyway, the braiding's been really cool. It is really great in this hot weather too, you know, not to have a huge knitting thing on you. That said, I am still knitting a whole ton this summer. This is my first summer actually like knitting things, and I'm doing it to get ahead for the fall. You know, I have a lot of knitting projects lined up, a lot of designs actually lined up. I'm pretty much lined up to like January. I am looking for a couple more, but you know, that's besides the point here. I will get those projects when they come. Or when I get the yarn. Buying things, it's really great. Great for my wallet. I don't know why that's so like aggressive. Okay, that's great. So let's move on to the next section, which is the whips. The whips. Well, this one's right here, so I might as well start with this. I showed it on the last episode that I was working on this hat. It's, as of right now, I'm just calling it pooled. It is with the Fiber Seed Sprout DK and their dip dyed yarn. This is the Partly Cloudy colorway. It's a DK as well. So I showed it last time, but just to show a little more about my designing life, I've already ripped this. I ripped up to where this spiral is ending back like 5 or 6 times already. I'm really just trying to get it so that the decreases line up, making this spiral continue. I've had it start to speckle on me depending on what I'm doing. I've had it do big pools. I've had it do all sorts of stuff. And I think that's partially because my gauge has loosened up a little, or because of my stitch count that I started out with, as I've now decided. Because there is a science to how this stuff happens, and I'm at a point where it's like, I've talked to the dyers, you know, behind this company. I could reach out just to ask them like what their numbers are for where things pool, or, you know, as they know them. I could, but what's the fun in that? So wouldn't I just like spend the next couple of months every once in a while picking this up, knitting a few inches, and then ripping them back and leaving it on the shelf for another month? Why not, right? That's been the plan with this. That said, I do want this hat because I want to be able to like wear this to work, because it is like a sturdier wool. It's not super heavy. It's not super warm, which is something I need at the job because it gets warm. And I have to wear a hat. And I don't like wearing brimmed, like, baseball caps. I don't think I look good in them. Do I have to say anything else about that? No, right? I just don't look good in them. I don't want to wear them. Don't make me wear them at the job. And if you do, I'm most likely out. It's kind of true. So that's where I'm at with this. I've ripped it back a million times. You saw it further along last time, actually. But I figured I'd share anyway. I figured I'd share anyway. That just made me wetter because of condensation. Wetter. Okay. Next on the list. Here, let's show this one. So this is my, again, you've been seeing this now for quite a while. I'm still chugging away on it. This is my infinity scarf design called Bobby, with Leading Men Fiber Arts in their monologue base, which is a merino yak silk. I'm using intarsia, and it's going to be a big intarsia infinity scarf / just regular scarf, depending on how you finish it. I'm going to have that option in the pattern. So what actually happened was, I had been experimenting with lace for a bit on this, you know, thinking maybe I'd go into some lace section. I ended up scrapping that and going with something much simpler, and I've just simplified the whole pattern. At this point, my pattern is written. I just have to fully knit it, and it does take some time and it takes some patience, and I honestly lately have not just had the patience. So I am picking this up. This is like the only project that I actually bring with me when I'm traveling or like on the subway or something. I bring this just so I like force myself to really work on it for a bit. But as you can see, so here it is. It starts off like in this sort of pattern, and then it will shift, as you can see, just so slightly. But it's amazing what this does to the feel of the fabric, so how much work you have to put in knitting it. These rows are much easier than these rows, and then as I've designed it, it's just going to get easier from now on. So the yarn is stunning. I mean, it makes a really, really beautiful fabric, and as you can see, the drape of it's going to be great. And once it's totally done in a big loop, I'm planning on making it so you can, like, you know, wrap it twice around your head and make it closer, or drape down. That's the plan. But it's gonna be stunning, and I definitely need it this fall. So it's gonna happen, and I'm working away at it. I am really happy with it now that I've kind of figured out where the next section is, and I'm already almost halfway done with the next section. And we'll just keep going from there. I'm shooting for, I think, about 56 inches in length in the end, which should hit just around my navel-ish, and then I can wrap it. So that's the plan. And then the end is I'm gonna do a big old I-cord, applied I-cord. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Here's the thing, and I've been going back and forth with this one, being like, maybe I work on redesigning it, maybe I do something else, but no, like, the final product of this is gonna be so beautiful and so worth it that I need to just, like, bunker down and get through the process of it. It's, you know, if you look at all my other work, you can kind of see that I am a little impatient with sections. Like, I don't want to be doing the same thing in a row for more than like 4 or 5 rows. I just don't. I want change, you know. I need a little bit of constant change. It can be reminiscent of what's happened before. I can be bouncing between ideas. That's great, but like, it is hard for me to knit a section this big of the same thing. You know, it was difficult. But I know a lot of knitters are into that. Like, this is a project that once I've written it out and people can go do it, they could take this anywhere again and not even have to look at what they're working on and just like be able to knit it. It's gonna have that capability. It's just designing it has been, it's been a mental game for me. Let's see. Oh, I have one more. Oh yeah, no, I have, well, kind of 2 more. So last time I showed you that I at Brooklyn General, which I'll just show you now. I forgot to mention this last time as well. At Brooklyn General, I won one of the raffle prizes, and I got the Brooklyn General tote bag. It is really big. It fits like a shoulder bag, which I actually use a lot. I've never had one like that. Almost like a Merce. I don't hate it. But I usually am I'm using this all the time and just throwing everything in it when I'm going out on the road. I'm really, thank you. You know, I'm so grateful for this project bag. I really needed a big one like that. And well, before we even go on then, we'll talk about the other project bag that I got at Chelsea Yarns. I actually just watched the Gemma Darlings podcast and Danielle was talking about it too, but how amazing is this plastic bag to go to the beach with? Like, Chelsea Yarns, like, Christina, I love that you gave us a beach bag with our yarn. Like, that was incredible. It's clear plastic. It smells like an inflatable tube. It just makes me want to sit by the pool and knit. Like, this one's really great. I mean, they're both really great bags. This one's bigger, so I tend to like have this one inside that one, or, you know, and all the other bags will end up going in the big bag. But anyway, tangent alert. Anyway, so the big feature of the last episode for me was the Walk collection yarn that I had picked up. You know, let me show you the tags. It's the Cozy Merino, 100% superwash. It's the sock weight. Oh, huh. Thought it was fingering. The sock weight, 3 to 66 meters, 100 grams, 2 to 5 needles. Oh, huh. You learn something new every day. I've been designing with it for how long and I didn't realize. Good. It's really good. It does play basically like a fingering, you'll see. Really beautiful yarns. Claire, I can't read the name of this one. Jade, Claret, and then Merlot are the 3 colors that I've been using. I've just started using for the first section. I've designed the shawl pretty much. I've been working on it. I just, one day, I think it was right after Sherry and Lace was off my needles, I immediately went into this, just because I really wanted to make sure I got this done before some other more pressing projects come up. So my yarn cakes are a dang mess, but here they are. I've only used the tiniest bit of the gold so far, or the yellow, but this is where they are. I really love how they play like this. I think in the end, I was intending for the Merlot to be the main color. In the end, the shawl, the main color is going to be the green, the jade. and I'm heading into the yellow, which I am like, I'm calling the shawl Walking into Sunshine, because it's heading into this one, and it's the Walk collection, because I'm stupidly ridiculous. So here we are with it. I had cast it on, you know, it was a total like whim cast on, barely had a plan. I just went, you know what, we're gonna create here, and those tend to be my favorite projects in the end. You know, there are times where I get very frustrated with that, and there are times where maybe I end up having to rip back a lot of knitting that I don't want to rip back, but I end up having to for the sake of the design. But you know, I started off with a completely different shape in mind than what I'm actually going to end up with, but I think the final shape is going to be very interesting and different. So here we are. Oh, that's technically the right side. Again, this is the right side, wrong side jazz. The wrong side of this is so much more interesting than the right. So yeah, here we are. This is a lace repeat, not preform. And as you can see, I'm just starting to go into the yellow gold. I should hold it like that. I mean, I haven't seen this on camera yet, like on a video camera, and it's, yeah. I love this Merlot color. I mean, obviously. It's like, it is beyond one of my favorites that I think I've ever worked with. That's what the lace is gonna open up to. This is like a mesh. And it's just a lot of striping. You know, it's gonna be garter and a few more sections of this like lace. And it's gonna be, I want it to be a very big shawl. I want it to be large. I want to use most of the 3 skeins. And I honestly, I could knit on this for the rest of my life and be happy. Like, it could just keep going. Because the yarn itself is really stunning. And you know what, now that I think of it, it's definitely a sport weight. Like, I've been feeling it like, wow, when you knit this up, it like plumps up. It's like the very thick finger. No, it's sport. That's why. Which is really cool, because I think sport weight is a very underused weight at this point. And I've been thinking about designing the next things in sport, but guess I don't have to because I'm already doing it. So this is where I'm at. I would say I'm about a little under a third done, and I've been knitting on this like a fiend, so I'm sure it will be complete in the time that I want it to be, which is basically by Rhinebeck. Is how I want this done, because it's, I mean, as you can see, the colors are very Rhinebeck, if you know Rhinebeck at all, and this will be my first time going, and I'm not a sweater knitter at this point. It was initially one of my goals this year, was to do a sweater, and I don't think I'm going to get there, but here we are. I mean, I think this is going to be, in the end, one of my favorite projects as well. I'm really loving shawl design, I'm not going to lie. I'm loving the freedom of shape that you have with shawls. Like, you know, hats, like I could play with dimension a bit. Cowls, I can definitely play with some dimensions, and you know, now I'm working to an infinity scarf type cowl. Like, there's room to play, but immediately with this, I was like, oh, I can basically create any shape and wrap it around my body, and we're good, you know? Like, you can just knit. It's just freeing. So, that was the right side again, but I mean, look at this. The wrong side is just too fun. Yeah, even just picking it up now, like, all I want to do is knit on that, but I'm trying very hard to disperse, you know, disperse my knitting, because I'm only one person and I need it all to get done, and I can't neglect something, because then it's like neglecting a child. You don't want to do that. Just don't, okay? No one ever neglected me. Just putting that out there. Thank you, Mom and Dad, you did great. Okay, one more whip of sorts. I'm gonna angle this down again. I don't know if that ever got angled up. I don't know if that was the whole episode till now, but you're getting it fixed. So here's something I picked up at Stitches United, and I've been talking to Richard again for a bit. I hadn't talked to him for a while, and I was like, oh my god, I still have that yarn I have to work with. So I cast it on. It's Richard DeFries. It is his Sirocco base, which is 100% DK, or Merino DK. 267 yards. It is 110 grams, so it's a little bit larger of a skein. This is the Camille Camo colorway, which in different lights picks up so many different colors. You get that like olivey green, you got that brown, that taupe, that gray. It's very tonal. And you know, he's known for his speckling, but this was really a beautiful like neutral. And you ready for the whip? I just started it last night. It's an I-cord. It's all I'm at so far. But as you can see already, look at that. It knits up like camo. Like, how freaking cool. I'm gonna have a camo cowl, basically, is what I'm designing. It's gonna be a lot of garter. I'm really in the garter right now. It's like going back to my roots. That's how I feel with it. But I'm playing with it in different, you know, different ways than I think I've ever played with it. Like stripes. I haven't done much stripe work. Actually like striping. So, and then this will be really fun. So stay tuned. Probably next episode I'll be halfway done with it. Who knows? I don't know how far I'll be. But the yarn itself so far has made a beautiful I-cord. It's been very lovely to work with. I've been talking to Richard about going to Rhinebeck or Stitches. You know, he's a good friend. I really want to go to just to jump around in my brain for a second. I really want to go to Canada and visit like him and the grocery girls. Like, duh. I mean, the offer hasn't been made yet, but I'm making it for myself and it's gonna happen. So we're gonna go. Anyway, camo life. It's so butch of me, right? Okay. So now we're gonna talk just very quickly. I have a little bit of stash enhancement that I picked up at Chelsea Yarns. This was earlier on in the day when I went there for the Silent Fibers trunk show, and I you know, immediately was like, well, I'm gonna pick out something to make a little 2-skein shawl with, because in talking with a lot of yarn dyers and my interest in designing a lot of 2-skein shawls, they're not as interested in that. They're more interested in the 3-skein and the more elaborate. And I think honestly it's for price point, which I understand. Like, you want to be able to sell. My hair in the part is not working for me today. Thanks, sweat. You want to sell like 3 skeins more versus 2 skeins. I get that. But for me, a 2-skein shawl is more accessible for someone in my price range. I'm more willing to buy 2 skeins than I am to 3. And I think it's easier to stash dive with. So I think on the user-friendly side, a 2-skein shawl is much more user-friendly for the knitter. So, one of my favorites that I have been loving on Instagram has been Primrose Yarn Company. I have a couple of favorites lately, but this has been one that, like, every time they pop up, I'm like, yep, gonna have to like that too. So when I saw that Christina had a huge wall of Primrose, I immediately went to that, and I spent a good hour or two just playing with different combinations. But once I put these two together, I was sold. They were coming home with me, and they will be a shawl in the very near future, I am sure. So, here are the 2 that I picked up. Their names are also really great. These are the 2 skeins I picked up of Primrose. Let's see if maybe if I try this technique again on the brightest part. I can't really roll them together. Like, my usual, like, technique isn't really gonna work here. But look how pretty they are. I mean, it's this, like, shockingly, like, violet, purpley, and blue, and then it has the little bit of the highlight, which is the same thing as this, which is like a highlighter yellow, which is why it's blowing out like a crazy person. But the speckling and the red speckling is what really drew me in. There you go. Now you can kind of see it. It looks a little more like, it's a little more shockingly highlighter in person, and it's more specific. So there's more tonal variety in person. Anyway, as you may have seen, the colorways are Bourbon Street and Mr. Yuck, which I thought was an incredible yarn name, because it is a little like boogery yuck, but it's gonna be, I mean, how cool of a shawl is that gonna be? So it's their Adelaide base, single ply fingering, 435 yards, 115 grams, dyed in York, Pennsylvania. So this is just really beautiful, really soft. I cannot wait to cast this on, but I am holding off because I have the Richard DeVries, another project, and then I can cast that on. And then whatever comes in the mail, which will be coming. Anyway, so this episode has been brought to you by Chelsea Yarns. Just thought I'd have to say. It really hasn't, but I've talked a lot about them. And Brooklyn General some too. They both deserve it. Okay, one more thing before I go. I did perform my knitting cabaret, Knitters Like Me, at the Brooklyn Boy Knits barbecue. I just want to say thank you to Lewis for letting me do that there. I had a great time. Some of the footage, just because of, you know, the environment, it was a very hot day. My phone overheated halfway through the performance, which is where I was playing my music out of. You know, some things that happened, I don't want to put out the entirety of the cabaret. Some of it's also a little personal. So I am planning on re-recording one of my songs and releasing it as its own YouTube video, probably within the next week or two. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be great. I'm not even going to tell you which one it is or what it's about, but it is by far my favorite one that I did, or had planned to do. But in the moment, I had to sing it a cappella because my phone was dead. So that video will never go anywhere, but I will re-record it for you guys. But at the end, Lewis was super nice, and he said some really great words about me, which I thought were cool. You know, I thought it was really cool of him to say nice things about me. Anyway, he gave me a gift, y'all, and it was a really sweet gift, and it was, you know, again, like, I learned to braid at Yarnimentary, and he was talking about it. He was like, yeah, you learned to braid when he was there, and I was like, oh my god, you don't know how, and so I thought this was the perfect gift, and it was. He gave me this weaving kit, so it has all of these colors of different craft yarns. The reason that this gift is one of the best gifts that anyone in the community has given me is because now I have a color palette. I haven't had that before. Like, I've just gone to yarn stores and, like, had ideas in my head of what I wanted, and I, you know, gone with whatever I chose. But now with this, I can put things together, like this combo, which is what I was looking at right here. You see these five, right? I love these five together. Maybe not in that order. Maybe it's this order. Let's see. Anyway, this is the game that you can now play. I don't like this brown. See? This is what I'm talking about. This is all I've been doing with these. Maybe this one? No, that's not working either. Let's see, how about this? Oh, that kind of works. So there we go. So now I can play with, like, you know, they're generally more primary colors, or, you know, bright colors, but I can go, you know, hey, I'm thinking about a shawl in these three colors. What can you do? Do you have anything similar? And I can just play with that in my own comfort of my own apartment, and it gives me, like, gives me an arsenal, I'll say. It's like in my toolbox. I always have this if I'm ever, like, confused color-wise, where I'm headed direction-wise. So that was a really great gift, a really useful gift for me, and I can't thank Lewis enough for all the kind things he's done for me. And with that, I think we made it through an episode of the CorradoLark Knitcast podcast channel. Aren't you, like, so excited about that? It was, like, a good lengthy one, too. I mean, I had a lot to share with you. I'm just gonna keep talking without breathing and see how long I can do it without breathing. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that much longer. I need some water. Thanks for joining me. Again, you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry. You can email me. All the links will be down below. And with that, that's it. What do you think? It's great, right? We made it. Okay, I'm gonna go before I get any weirder. Great. Bye.